I want to say a few things. First, I want to offer my gratitude for your participation. Please, no need to be serious. That's the whole point of touching the earth. Because the moment you go away from the earth, then you become serious. I have heard a lot of good things about touching earth. I don't know when it started. How? I think it was like during the COVID. But somehow it sort of took off in Bhutan. So I'm, very glad. It may not last, because we live in a world that is driven by very temporary trend. That's fine. Then probably we will touch sky, something else, which is fine. There are written questions here, but you are free to just throw in. Most of these questions I don't think I can answer because many of these are very heartfelt questions. Heartfelt questions are difficult to answer. So, and I don't want to be giving you some academic information. There was this great master called Jigme Lingpa, who actually had a student from a Bhutanese student who came from Dungsam. Anyway, he said, Shetse Nangal Samse Tulba. He said a lot of things. He said, whatever we say, it's always a contradiction. No matter what we say, we human beings. And whatever we think, it's always a confusion. He also said, information makes you stupid. Really, he said that. So, I don't know, me giving you more information regarding the whatever you are sort of asking, I will feel very self-conscious. But I think, the very motivation of just simply touching the earth, that very concept is very beautiful. I think so. But, see, this is the problem. We live in a world of narration, right? We need to talk. I'm sure you have heard, so I'm sure Thang Thong Tugo or whoever, they may have explained this. Usually, Shakyamuni Buddha statue has a specific posture that no other Buddhas have, which is Sanan posture, Sa-nan. Sa-nan, sort of sometimes translated as subduing or suppressing the sa. But this word sa is not always, I guess in English we have translated as earth, which is fine, which is correct. But also it refers to ground. And I think actually many of your questions are related to, somehow, even though you didn't have the intention, but it's kind of related, which is nice. Touch base. That's one of the expression. I think touching the base is so crucial because we human beings tend to depart from the base. And don't ask me what is the base, because, of course, I do have a very, very Buddhist theoretical answer, but you don't need to know that. But I think that motivation. When you are alienated, when you are depressed, when you are angry, when you are anxious, when you are lost, just longing to be, longing to touch base, longing to touch the ground. And this ground also, of course, very important. Without the earth, we have nothing. But of course, we are not only talking about this earth. We are talking about something else that you do not pay attention. So I think the activity of touching earth is sort of, like we gather and we talk about our ups and downs. We talk about our, shortage. But also we talk about what makes us happy, what makes us, And that actually, I think for you, it is an act of touching base. Not necessarily sitting straight, not necessarily doing something holy, looking holy or something looking sacred. You must have heard the word tsam. These yogis, they do tsam. So usually what happens is they isolate themselves. In the past, they go to the mountains, they go to the, some quiet place, lock the door, take all kinds of, pledges or vows, like vow of silence, etc., etc. Even though it has sort of subsequently became some sort of a ritual, some sort of a Buddhist discipline. But actually, what you do, touching the earth, is essentially an act of tsam. Tsam means boundary. And I think it's good to have boundaries sometimes. The world, especially in this current world, because sometimes we pursue too much for freedom, too much. We talk about freedom, we talk about liberation, we talk about freedom, we talk about, like wanting to do whatever we want to do. But little do we realize that to achieve those, sometimes the trick is to create a boundary. It's very interesting, isn't it? In the past, people have sat straight, kept quiet, and if that doesn't work, they chant mantras. But now, I think, touching the base, such as, this is something that based on the questions I've received, this is something I wanted to share. There's this question. It's really good. I lost that question now. I don't know where it is. Oh yeah, actually it's the very first question. Dear Rinpoche, I think I'm addicted to Netflix. I can't do any chore or even brush my teeth. I'm very much like you. I don't watch Netflix somehow, I don't know. Mine is, what is it? Podcast and YouTube. Yeah. Instagram, not so much, I don't know, for some reason. YouTube. without it playing in the background very much. It has become sort of part of you, isn't it? Like even the moment you want to go to bathroom, you have to carry your phone. It's almost like you will end up the YouTube will end up becoming part of your biology almost. The things won't come out without the sound of that. It is possible. What do you call it? Mutant? I heard actually, some people said that our thumbs, now they're slowly changing the thumbs because we touch, or something like that. Anyway, if Dharma had to compete with Netflix for young people's attention, what would the trailer look like? Miserably sort of failure in the box office. I don't think it will work. Because, this is a serious question, but because Netflix, all of this is to distract you, right? And Dharma is supposedly to not distract you. The whole point of touching the earth, like we don't, and forget other earth, forget other ground. Even this very ground, we don't touch enough. There's a layers between us and the earth. There's the socks, there's the shoes, and then most of the time we don't even think about the earth. In fact, actually, I think it was in Taiwan when we first initiated touching the earth activity. We even sort of disciplined ourselves that at least we touch the earth with our bare feet or hand, just for a moment. That is an act of no distractions, because we are normally distracted with all sorts of other things, right? So my answer will be, it's going to be difficult. If it is a pure Dharma, genuine Dharma. But of course, there's a spiritual Dharma. There's a materialistic Dharma also. That maybe we can do. And that a lot of people are doing. From all us lamas, all the way to the Sadhguru. Very lucrative business. You should really think about this. It's very entertaining, and it could be, because as long as you have fear, as long as you have sadness, there's a business for Dharma. And there's a plenty of fear, there's a plenty of insecurity out there. So the Dharma business is not going to go down. It's only going to go up. But if it is pure Dharma, a little difficult, I would say. So, I won't be able to go through all the questions, okay? But I think at the same time, I I have read through all the questions. There are some questions that are related to meaning of life. I'm really surprised that people are still asking this question. Not that I'm expecting you to know what's the meaning of the life. To begin with, I always have a problem with this question. This question, what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose of life? Is a very, very Abrahamic question. It's not really Bhutanese or a Himalayan question, but nevertheless, I understand you have, now that you are you have that kind of influence. Meaning, you create the meaning. Meaning is not a feeling. You create the meaning. If you decided to discipline yourself to touch the earth, okay, I'm not going to chant Om Mani Padme Hum. I'm not going to chant, do prayers. I'm not going to go to stupa, circumambulate. But I'm going to touch this earth every day once with my bare feet or bare hand. And if you make that, and you do this, I don't know, for all kinds of reasons, just for a nice feeling, and maybe more than that, maybe just to remember the preciousness of the earth, the fact that we are on this earth, whatever. If you create the discipline and if you do that, that has become something meaningful for you. So I think purpose or the meaning is something that you need to create. I can't create this for you. I mean, I can, but it is better if you create yourself. If you decided if in your mind, okay, I am going to follow this guru or this teacher, then that is your meaning that you have decided. Someone asked me, actually, what is the good following a guru means? I said, it is an adventure. Some people like to climb Mount Everest. Some people like to go to what? Laya, what is it? That snowman, what? Snowman track. That's an adventure. Some people like to have a guru. Even there are a lot of different kinds. Some people like to like to follow a sober, kind of a not too risky guru. Others, they like to follow really, really, exciting guru, who could really pull rug out of your feet any day, any time. But, this also depends on you. I mean, I'm not discouraging you. You should, try. Because it is so scary, actually. It is really scary to follow somebody and pledge yourself to, to really follow this somebody's, footstep. It's a big adventure. But then, anyway, meaning you create. This is an interesting question, Rinpoche. Sometimes the young people are always seen as a problematic and disconnected. That's true. I have heard this from, especially within my sort of circle. It's a very interesting because they used to be, they themselves used to be, once upon a time, these young people, and they were also problematic once upon a time, that they always forget. What's something young people today are actually getting right that older generations don't give them credit for? Wow, that's a really important question. I don't have a sort of a simple answer for this, but I will give you an answer that is a little bit indirect. Many Buddhist scholars and teachers, we talk among ourselves. In some way, we say Buddhism actually is becoming better. Not necessarily Buddhism is, growing. In fact, Buddhism is not growing. Have you heard? Just a recent Pew Research. Buddhism declined. Within 2 years, Buddhism declined 2% already. So something like 20 million gone. So population-wise, Buddhism is decreasing. I think there's many different reasons for that. I think the Buddhists are not getting married enough. Buddhists are not having enough children. All sorts of things. But that also has other reasons, because I think Buddhists are probably more, at the risk of being very, very egoistic. Buddhists are getting education, literacy. And the education is not so, education always makes people busy because they have education. So which means they don't have enough time to do things that can produce children because they need to, charge phone, then they need to scroll the phone. I don't know. So I think there are many reasons why Buddhism, as demography of Buddhism is going down. But the quality of Buddhism has actually gone up quite a lot. Where do we begin? This is a little contentious, but I want to share this with you. Since you are young people, you need to hear this. For instance, like Tibet. A lot of the Tibetan lamas in the past, they were like a feudalist. Really, they were like a feudalist. Not anymore. Lots of the lamas and monks, most of them don't even know who are the three Kwancho Sum, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. They're just there as a monk because traditionally they are required to be a monk. Most of them don't know. But this has changed. The Buddhists are more educated. That means Buddhists really think more about mindfulness. I mean, maybe you guys are too young, but I can tell you this. Just about 40 years ago, Buddhists don't talk about mindfulness a lot. Even though in our texts, in our tradition, in our teachings, there's mindfulness a lot. But, we never really talk a lot. Now people do. So there's a more awareness, there's a more, appreciation of Buddhism. But of course, this doesn't mean that we don't have a challenge. We do have lots and lots of challenges. Buddhism is getting also diluted a lot, which actually, to me, this is more, I'm more worried about, like, for instance, the very concept of mindfulness. So the mindfulness that is prevailing today, a lot of people do mindfulness so that you can be more relaxed, so that you can be more sane. One of the questions here. maybe zen is not the right word, but anyway, relax, more calm. But that is not really the core reason why the Buddhists do mindfulness. Okay, just two more, and then I think I'm not going to bore you. Okay, Rinpoche, what's one thing you wish young people today would stop worrying about? And also one thing you wish they did worry about more? I can only answer you half. I don't know how to say whether what would... I don't know. I don't have the answer for the first part. What, stop to worry? I don't know. I think you will worry. Worry is sort of a second nature of the human being. And also, sometimes worry is good, They say, what? Paranoid survives, or something like that. Right? Something like this. People who are paranoid, they usually survive. So I think you will keep on worrying. I think so. So I don't know what I would say. But one thing I would ask, and this is just a current sort of phenomena, I wish they would worry more about is, and this is difficult, I think, not to get stuck with the one narration. That is a difficult. Try to be unbiased. Try to read both sides. Try to have empathy. This is a difficult one. But if young people can do that, I think the young people will be confident. I think if you listen to both sides of the story, it is so powerful. I think I would say, so I think in nutshell, I wish the young people worry more about, okay, so it's a very tricky answer. I wish young people worry more for not having enough empathy. That would be good. I think empathy is such an important quality. But this is a difficult one. But this, by the way, coming back to the touching the earth, you want empathy? What should you do? Touch base. Because the moment you depart from the base, then you lose empathy, right? So always going back to the base. I've listened to this person, and I'm really convinced, I'm really attracted to this, but I'm going to listen to this. So that kind of touch base, I think, is important. Is it okay if we find traditional rituals boring? Of course. How can I say no? Yeah. I mean, these are very heartfelt question. Just to, tease you a bit. Sometimes it's good to be bored. Boredom and loneliness is kind of important. You want to touch, you want to gain some sort of a sanity? Get bored. Be lonely a little bit, maybe not too much. How do we do it? Again, this is actually touching the earth. This Sannan, Buddha's gesture of touching the earth, it's just a symbol, but actually it has a lot of other hidden meaning. It has a lot to do with not going here, not going there, not getting distracted, but always coming back. Okay, do you have live questions? If you have. Otherwise, someone asked me what book I'm reading right now.
Nice to meet you. Okay. So I have no such complicated questions. I just want to ask, how are you doing?
How am I doing? I teach people, shamatha, vipassana, and so on and so forth. But recently I find myself becoming a little stressed. So, which means that I should go back to the base. Is that good? Is that okay? Enough? Yeah. Other than that, I'm okay. I'm very good. Yeah, I'm very good. I want to I'm writing some sort of a novel. So at the moment, I'm sometimes frustrated with it. Because after 20 pages, then I'm not happy. But other times, I'm quite happy. And this is, someone asked me what book I'm reading right now. I think I have this habit of always doing sort of the same thing again and again. I'm that type, I guess. So I'm rereading God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. I would say, I think that book is one of my favorite. It's just so beautiful language, and also it really, I don't know, it's just my imagination. It really talks about how we human beings, we have just so much challenges and emotions, and many times how people not understanding that, and then we struggle so hard to make others to understand that. And in the process of trying to do that, we get even more sucked into the sort of maze of more emotional problems. Anyway, I'm writing a book about karma, but I think if this book ever come out, probably I will lose a lot of friends. Because it's also going to be about the corruptions within the Tulku systems, Rinpoches, lamas, monasteries. So how these things are also really, really diluting and hijacking Buddhism. But let's see.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. I'm a content creator, and when I initially started curating content, it was purely through my passion. So I travel a lot, and my contents were mostly completed. And over, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. So, over, oh my God, this mic is big.
Okay.
So no mics. Over, I think like I've been creating contents for last 8 years now, and wow.
I think you are touching the base, so that's good. Yeah.
So initially, when I curated content, it was purely through my passion, and now, over the time, I have like good numbers of followers, and sometimes I feel like I'm now curating content for the people of what they want to see in me,
Yes.
not really me curating content from my base. So I feel sometimes I'm not touching my base, but rather like doing contents from sky or beyond. So any advice on this? Thank you.
The fact that you even thinking like that is your solution. Just keep on thinking like that, and then do whatever you need to do.
That's it.
No, I say this really, with a little bit of authority. Communication with the people is so difficult, isn't it? Yet we need to communicate. Plus, if it is, I don't know, your career or your, I don't know, livelihood, then it gets even more complicated. Just a simple, communication. So I need to say something really, really what I think is interesting. But you are a totally different person, being. So I can't put everything that is in my head in you, because I don't know how you are going to hear this. Earlier, somebody was talking about my film. I'm sure some of you have seen my film. In some of the recent, about 3 or 4 films, I have really, really put my feet down and said, I am going to do what I want to do. But this has a challenge because, what is it all about? I fell asleep. Like so boring and doesn't make any sense, and so on and so forth. So I caved in a little bit. So I recently made a film in Nepal. So I put some spice. I did not like it because I feel like, okay, I'm entertaining people. But then I thought, okay, doesn't matter. I will entertain people, but I will put some things that I want to put so that they will end up swallowing it. Something like this. Okay. That's it. Okay. What did you have?
I feel like whatever we do, there is always a need for seeking and intent, as you see in a couple of your talks. Looking at this generation we are right now, we are all busy. Like if you ask somebody, let's go hang out, they're busy. They want to go directly back to their house after office. And even when you say to keep having fun, I think it's same with empathy also. When there is somebody next to you who don't even feel a need for that, need to know this or that, how do you start? Because sometimes when you are the only one who know in the room, I feel like you versus the world sort of.
To the last part, I didn't get it.
It's more like when you realize the need, but then others don't, then it's like two different.
Wow, I don't know how to answer this. The only thing I can say is it sounds very genuine, and you have something called life. And I appreciate. I think there's a lot of this going around, and I think there'll be a lot of this, But I'm sure you will always find your victim. We do, no? This is called karma, right? We will always find someone who will fall for you. Yeah, I think so. Literally and metaphorically, both. Okay.
Privileged to be here, Madam. So, my question is, everyone is in search of eternal peace, memola. So, is it something that the peace is it something that it comes from within, or does the world shape it for us? So, thank you.
Gosh, so many big questions. Eternal peace. It's very relative. So if you are asking me what kind of eternal peace I am, me, this man, looking for, and this is genuine. I'm not trying to be very philosophical here. Of course, I have received teaching, so I'm sure there's a lot of influence of that. For me, a peace is if I manage to not get caught by cause and conditions. And that I think you can do. You can do. For instance, how about a weekend without phone? And that's just a very gross level. But even a few moments of silence, I don't think there is something called eternal peace that Buddhism promises, after certain, struggle. To put it another packaging or another way, it's really looking, to be cautious with cause and condition. And of course, some of these cause and conditions, is going to get you into, it's a bit like this, like after 2 times of heartbroken situation, there's another prospect that you encountered last night, for instance. Then you really think, oh my goodness. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? Is this going to lead to another of my episode? Well, that kind of awareness is good enough. Of course, you will end up do something no matter what. But some kind of awareness, some kind of knowing the situation. I think you guys are asking the right question. I don't need to actually answer you. The right question is always the itself answer. Okay. Don't you think you guys should drink and stuff like this?